Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning and salam Ramadan to all our viewers. Welcome to our sixth session of webinar series Captain of Industry, brought to you by Faculty of Engineering. We are initiating university-industry collaboration during MCO to have a platform with our Captain of Industry to share their thoughts, way forward and challenges during post-COVID-19. Now we are streaming live from FB Faculty of Engineering. Today, we would like to welcome Dr. Sumitra Nair, Vice President Digital Talent Development, Malaysia Digital Economic Corporation, with her topic today, Frontliner to Face COVID-19 or RMO, Restricted Movement Order. Without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Professor Dato' Engineer Dr. Muhammad Rafiq, Dr. Abdul Kadir, Dean Faculty of Engineering to introduce our captain today. Over to you, Dato'.
Thank you, Murni. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to our speaker, Dr. Sumitra Nair, and also a very good morning to all of you watching this Captain of Industry webinar live through our Faculty of Engineering Facebook. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much to our presenter today. Despite her busy schedule, can still slot an hour with us to share her experience as the Vice President at MDEC and be appointed as our Captain of Industry. Let me brief all of you a short biography of our speaker. Dr. Sumitra is the Vice President at Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, MDEC, in charge of digital talent development work. Her mandate is to work with like-minded ecosystem partners to build a sustainable and quality talent pool for digital technology sectors. In this capacity, Dr. Sumitra spearheads digital technology and data talent development strategies for the entire talent life cycle aimed at nurturing a strong talent pipeline as well as securing continued career relevance for the existing workforce. To date, her work has impacted more than 1 million Malaysians. In her prior role at MDEC, Dr. Sumitra also initiated and led a national initiative to empower small and youth businesses with digital marketing skills, benefiting more than 300,000 micro businesses in Malaysia. Her past roles include holding leadership and advisory position in corporate responsibility and sustainability portfolios at DG Telecommunications and Telenor ASA, Norway. Dr. Sumitra holds a PhD in Business and Economics from Monash University, Malaysia, a graduate diploma in Accounting and Finance from the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, an Executive Management Certificate in International Marketing from INSEAD University, as well as a Bachelor of Economics with Honours from University Malaya. Her most important role is being a mother to 2 digital natives. With that, Dr. Sumitra, over to you.
Thank you, Prof. Dato' Rafiq. It's a pleasure to address all of you this morning. And firstly, my huge word of thanks to UTM, School of Engineering, for inviting me to share some of the work that MDEC has been doing during this very interesting times that we are now living in, and potentially about to be changing the norm that all of us have been used to thus far. So yes, as Professor Dato' Rafiq mentioned, I lead the digital talent development work at MDEC. But today, because the topic is on MDECs role in general, I will be covering what some of my amazing colleagues have also been doing in MDEC since the COVID-19 and MCO situation started and began to impact our country. Yeah. So without further ado, let me just go to my slides. Okay, I hope everybody can see my slides. So this is the topic that I was invited to speak on, right? And I will be trying to share as much as I can what we have been doing. And I would welcome questions or comments or suggestions, throughout the session today. So to start off with, as Prof. Dato' Rafiq mentioned, my most important role is being a mother to 2 digital natives. And so I wanted to share the work of the perspective of one of these digital natives, who's actually my son. So he's 12, almost 13 years old, 12 plus. And this is a poem that he wrote soon after we were all put in MCO. So you can read it, and it goes like this. Pandemic, disaster, shock and stress. The entire world is being put to the test. Panic buying, calamity, deaths and fears. The victims' families crying with tears. COVID-19 is its scientific name. It's a virus that's almost impossible to tame. Lockdown, social distancing and masks everywhere. People rubbing sanitizers on their hands that are bare. Everyone says that it's a virus from bats. A virus which was similar to the one from rats. We could defeat this virus by working together, but one thing's for sure, this will be in history books forever. So this is written by my son. His name is Ajay Ram. And I guess it gives us a perspective that, number one, this is, yes, unprecedented times. But number two, which is the most important point, is if we work together, we can overcome even this situation that we're now facing. So that's just to share a little bit and hopefully, lighten today's, I don't know whether it lightens, but hopefully it lightens the creative side of us. Yeah. Okay, so coming to more serious business, I think, this is probably not alien to us. Yeah. I'm sure many of us will know many of these logos that we're seeing, and these have become our best friends in this time of MCO. We have been using Microsoft Teams, Zoom, I'm sure, WhatsApp, Skype, Google Meet, and not sure how many of you are familiar with that last one over there, but this is something my colleague shared with me. It's called House Party, and apparently it's exploding. Yeah. So let's look at how COVID and MCO has changed where it is right now. So you'll see, all these applications were launched not after COVID. They were launched before COVID. But look at the explosion of the usage post-COVID. Yeah, more than 700, and maybe even now, I think maybe even 1,000% growth in users. Yeah, for Microsoft Teams. But even in Italy alone, more than 700% growth. I'm sure in Malaysia, it's multiple times over since the start of MCO. Zoom, this is a best friend to us again, more than 150% increase just in March. Yeah, so if you look at the April and May data, I'm sure it's higher. Daily growth in Google Meet, and I'm sure it's much, much higher now that it has become free. Recently announced by Google Meet a few days ago, free for even non-paying Google Meet subscribers. Skype, it's exploding, yeah, and all this, including House Party. So the point is that we are all now online. Like it or not, we are all digital. The MSC, the Multimedia Super Corridor, was established more than 20 years ago. And over the last 20 years, my colleagues at MDEC, my predecessors, and my comrades have been calling for everybody around the country to go digital. It hasn't always been an easy journey. And sometimes it has felt like it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But today, the scenario has changed. And why? This is anecdotal. I'm sure you would have seen it flying around social media. But this is, we have to face it. COVID-19 has made us digital by default, whether we like it or not, whether it's education. UTM, as I was speaking to Prof. Dato' Rafiq earlier today, UTM has migrated fully to online, not just courses, but even exams, yeah, even for hands-on courses like engineering. This is unheard of, right? At least in Malaysia. Businesses are online by default. We don't have a choice, right? And everything, even social interaction, even family get-togethers. We've even had a wedding, yeah, in MDEC. One of our colleagues has even had a wedding remotely via online platform. So really, COVID is driving the digital transformation of the country. And so because of that, digitalizing the economy, not just the economy, but the country, is more important now than ever in this new normal that we're facing. And if you look at, the data that has been published by Department of Statistics, which has been running a survey on the COVID-19 effects, as well as prior studies that we have seen from MOF and so on, you actually find that the jobs that the industries that are already digitally oriented, they are more resilient. They have been more resilient. Those that are not really digitally heavy, they are the ones who are really, really being impacted right now. And so we have to get everybody on board as quickly as possible, and as many things on board as quickly as possible. Prior to COVID-19, prior to MCO, we all spoke about 4th IR. We all spoke about robots, automation, coming to take over our jobs and so on and so forth. Now with COVID-19 becoming almost a normal that you're going to have to live with, at least for the foreseeable future, at least until vaccines are available en masse, right? En masse. Until then, we are going to have to, this is a reality that we're going to have to face. Yeah. In fact, even for those industries you see down there, which are not digitally heavy, sooner or later, we will have to think of how to get them automated. We will need to think about how to get robots. Yeah. So this is where engineering plays a really important role, because robotic equipment is going to be increasingly important, regardless of the sector. Yeah. Whether it's transport, so people will be talking about driverless cars, even before, but now that's definitely going to be something that is, is going to be more commercially viable. Whether it is drones for farming, whether it is, to deliver food, and various others, even entertainment. Yeah, I'm sure we would have all seen Lady Gaga's huge one concert. Yeah. That was on YouTube. I'm sure we've all been enjoying all our Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals online. So everybody is thinking about how to get online, and this is going to be a key success factor in this new normal that we face. So if we are in the workforce, we need to leverage digital to not just stay employed, but in the longer term to remain relevant. And already, even before MCO, surveys have shown more than half the population felt new skill sets are required. Now, this percentage, is much, much higher. Consumers, we as consumers must get used to consuming and transacting digitally. We've seen a huge rise in e-commerce, but unfortunately in Malaysia, and not unfortunately though, actually it's a huge opportunity still, because only 5% of our daily transactions are cashless, at least prior to MCO. Right now, it's probably higher, and we have to get used to this. And this means that it's not just people who are, the digital natives, but even our parents, our senior citizens must be taught how do you consume and transact digitally, because they are the generation that is at risk, and they are the vulnerable generation. So how do we get them used to that? How do we ensure they stay safe while they're consuming online? Will be issues we need to think about. Businesses have no choice. As I've mentioned, they have to adopt digital. And in Malaysia, again, prior to MCO, less than 5% of SMEs were engaging in e-commerce. As we move forward, they don't have a choice. This is going to be a factor of survival, if they wish to continue. And of course, even the government, public sector must think about how we're delivering our services digitally. So in the past, if we are going to go and, queue in, form long queues in counters and so on, going forward, we need to think about how we're going to deliver and replace these counter services with online services. Yeah. So in some ways, right, I mean, for me, I think, and this is just personal, right? So we always used to talk about, before MCO, we used to speak about 4th IR and how digital is the driver of 4th IR. I think in a way, COVID-19, this is anecdotal, it's just a joke. COVID-19, we could say, is a driver of maybe the 5th IR, right? So because it is having a transformational effect across sector. And so, what is MDECs' role in all of this? Of course, if you just Google MDEC, you'll see a lot of information about us and you will learn who we are and how long we've been around. But essentially, our role is to lead the digital economy forward towards a shared prosperity for all Malaysians, right? And we want to make Malaysia the heart of digital ASEAN, and we have an opportunity to do so with our multicultural and multilingual population, with our location, and now even with our response to this whole situation, which has been acknowledged by many parties and even global bodies to be at par, if not better, than many first world nations. We really have an opportunity to make Malaysia the heart of digital ASEAN. Now, how are we doing this? Basically, we're looking at three areas. Of course, number one, we need to have the kind of talent that can drive the digital economy. Because at the end of the day, all economies are driven by people, right? Not necessarily people who are doing things physically, but even people who have the right minds and the right creativity and the right problem-solving skills and the right digital productivity skills. These are the kind of people that is going to be driving the digital economy forward. And so this is a big focus for us to ensure that Malaysians are digitally skilled, right? And that they are contributing to the growth of the country. Number two, while we do that, we also must make sure that these people are given the opportunity to be working in digitally powered businesses, which means that our businesses must adopt digital quickly and extensively across their businesses. They must look at pivoting their business models so that they take into account digital in all that they do. Yeah, and here we have put together, not just by MDEC, but together with our partners, end-to-end support for businesses, right from how do we help to grow startups, to digitalizing SMEs, and even to globalizing scale-up. So we have a whole bunch of companies, more than 100 companies that have potential to become unicorns, $1 billion companies. And we have programs in MDEC, again, with our partners that help to scale these businesses. And the last but not least is digital investments. And this is where while our local businesses adopt digital, while we equip our talent, we also need to sustain growth. And to sustain growth of the country, we need to ensure we have the right kind of investments in the country. There are both foreign as well as domestic investments in digital businesses. And already, Malaysia is making a name for animation, game development, and esports. And in fact, even UTM has a big focus on this through your magic acts and so on. And this is a huge area of opportunity for Malaysia, where already regional and global businesses creative businesses are looking at Malaysia as their hub. We also we also want to make Malaysia a suitable location for data centers, because data is, as my CEO says, it's not just the new oil, it's the oxygen. Without data, we cannot survive. And so there are initiatives in place to strengthen Malaysia's position as a data hub. And last but not least, we want Malaysia to be a proven global testbed for ICT. We have some great success stories, but we need to keep building in this area. And to do all that, we must have the talent. So it goes back to that. Talent is the most important factor, success factor for us to become the heart of digital ASEAN. And so what has MDEC's response been? Now that I've shared who MDEC is, what has our response been in this whole COVID situation? I think very quickly we came up with this campaign called Digital versus COVID. You can actually visit our website. I've put the URL down there, and you can have a look at what are the initiatives we have put in place. The reason why we called it Digital versus COVID is because, as I've mentioned earlier, one of the ways in which we can work together, right, and address the situation and make sure that businesses and the economy and education continues is by leveraging digital platforms, which is why we've called it Digital versus COVID. And so what have we done in this digital versus COVID? Yeah. So I'll just share what we've done for businesses as well as for society, for people. So for businesses, one of the things that we've done very quickly is we're trying to get as many SMEs to go digital as quickly as possible. So if you've been following MDEC's social media, you would have actually seen that last week we had e-Dagang Expo, Expo e-Dagang. It was a week-long e-commerce bonanza of webinars, workshops, and sharing sessions that had 3 tracks addressing not just the SME, but even social sellers. Because, I'm sure we've read from newspapers or stories how people are now selling a lot of things on Facebook, on Instagram, and so on. So these are social sellers, individuals, even mom and pop shops from at home, just home-based businesses selling online. We also had a track for SMEs and for those who are looking at cross-border commerce as well. And we, just in 1 week, we actually impacted more than 5,000 entrepreneurs. So this is kudos to my colleagues who run our e-commerce activities. So this is one of the things we did. We are also running a series of Go Digital webinars. We call it SME Unplugged. You'll see the visual on the right. This was part 1. We are probably now at part 3 or 4. And we're going to run 6 sessions. And each session will cover different areas, from talent to digital marketing to fintech, cashless, macam-macam lah. So, and in this way, we actually hope to bring together people from across the ecosystem to inspire and to guide SMEs on how they can go digital. We also over the years, of course, have built a strong network of, as I mentioned, companies. We have potential unicorns in our midst in Malaysia. Many of them are not big in Malaysia, but they have regional, if not global operations. And so what we've been trying to do is connect these solution providers, these companies, to the smaller SMEs that want to adopt digital. So as of the end of last month, we had already connected 104 SMEs to this network of these tech champions that we have. And we're also looking at how we can facilitate these local tech champions to solve national problems. So whenever the government agencies, the government says, they need to address something, for example, if they want to put their services on cloud, this is where we bring to bear the experience and the knowledge that our local tech champions have, the companies, and we match them. Similarly, one of the big issues was funding. Because the smaller companies were finding it difficult to find funding, especially in this current time. And so we quickly put together an alternative funding platform where this is to support peer-to-peer and equity crowdfunding. And we are working with many ECF and peer-to-peer platforms, equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer platforms, to match companies that need funds with people who have funds. So these are all things that have just been hacked together just since the MCO started. And so when it comes to people, we've also done a few things because, if you are familiar with MDEC, you would know that we run many trainings, we run many events, we run many physical engagement kind of activities. But with MCO, we've pivoted and we've intensified all our signature programs. They've all been taken online. So for example, if you're familiar with e-Usahawan is an initiative that my team and I started in MDEC about 3 years ago. Today, it's got more than 300,000 micro entrepreneurs on it. And just in this MCO period, we ran more than 300 live courses online, and these have impacted more than 6,000 micro SMEs. And if you go to the Go e-commerce platform, that is our online learning management system, where anybody from anywhere in Malaysia, including whoever's watching this webinar today, you can go and learn on your own online, from the comfort of your home. All you need is hopefully you have internet connection, and you can do that. We also have initiatives that address school children. Yeah, and so one of the things that we have is something called Digital Ninja. These are the country's most talented young innovators. Yeah, and we have special programs to nurture them and to groom them. I think some of them are even in your university, in UTM now. And so usually what happens is we nurture them from Form 1 to Form 5. And after Form 5, we have a leadership boot camp. So this year, after their Form 5, we've had to take that and do it online. Yeah? So we had a virtual leadership boot camp with many, not fireside chats, but internet side chats with various CEOs, starting with our own CEO, Surina, as well as many other tech CEOs that we have. Yeah, people like from Anymonster and Digital Durian, and people like Forest Interactive punya CEO, and many others. Yeah. And so we've also one of the things that we do at MDEC is we also work with the Ministry of Education to support the implementation of computational thinking and computer science in school, yeah, including coding, including things like programming microcontrollers and all of that. And so one of the things that we've had to do since MCO is quickly pivot that to online platforms. And so we've been running webinars around the country. And to date, we've already had more than 3,000 teachers that have gone through these online trainings, teaching them all about coding and to prepare them for the rollout of the new Rekod dan technology curriculum that will start next year, yeah, as well as to support those that are already teaching Asas Science Computer and Science Computer in schools today. One of the things we also did was during this MCO was to have this hour of code. Yeah, this hour of code is just in 1 hour, you can learn how to code. This is a program that was introduced by Code.org, an international NGO that promotes coding and computer science from out of the US many years ago, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And in Malaysia, we started this on a national basis in partnership with MOE, maybe about 3 years ago. Yeah, and usually what happens is we have the schools do it in schools physically with the guidance of their teachers. But since our Prime Minister advises, not to kesana kesini and to just stay at home, we actually did Hour of Code edisi duduk rumah, which impacted more than 12,000 students in just 2 weeks. And do look out for the next one. We are planning another Hour of Code edisi, maybe Digital Raya, we're going to call it. We're not sure yet. If you have suggestions for other names, do let us know. It's going to be another round of Hour of Code. And this is something that you can do if you are a student, you can do it with your adik-adik at rumah, or if you're a parent, do it with your children. This is just in 1 hour exposing them to coding and to show them that coding is not something that is to be feared. It's something that can be learned quite easily, and giving them a sort of a low entry barrier, reducing the entry barrier into coding. And from there, then of course they can level up to more text-based programming and so on. So do look out for that. And we also then, very quickly curated opportunities to support e-learning and reskilling, because we realize that right now many people are at home. So of course, if we are parents, and not everybody's schools perhaps are actively onto this online learning. So we've already compiled a whole list, about 30 to 40 online resources to support school children. So if you are a teacher or if you have school-going children, do check out the website that we have in MDEC. We've compiled more than 40 online platforms that offer all kinds of free content, to support school education. We've also compiled more than 30 online learning platforms to support adults, because we as adults need to reskill. As I said earlier, everything is moving digital. And so if you're not used to, online or digital skills like, for example, PowerPoint, or even Excel, or even a lot of the basic online digital marketing, cashless payments, things like that, we've compiled more than 30 online courses for adults. And it's something that you can go and have a look. A lot of it is free, some of it is discounted. And we are also, this is brand new, fresh off the oven. We're working with Coursera. I'm sure all of us know who's Coursera. They provide a lot of online learning courses, high quality online learning courses. And it's usually something that's paid. Yeah, but we now have a special arrangement with Coursera, especially for our Malaysian brothers and sisters who, may not have a job right now. If you're unemployed, it's free. Yeah, it's free, and there's more than 3,000 courses, including professional certification, that is offered free for all of our unemployed Malaysian friends out there. We've also started, because sometimes it's difficult to find, there's so much courses out there, but where do you go and what do you do and what's happening? We lose track. So we've tried to make it easy. We have tried to compile this, and starting May, we have already launched our first monthly calendar of digital courses. Do look out for the next one. So of course you can go into the link that's right there, and you can have a look at all the courses with all the links to all the partners that we have who are providing these courses. And we will continue doing that month on month, not just for digital courses, but even data related courses. And the other thing that we've done is, of course, we all respect the healthcare frontliners in Malaysia. They are doing a phenomenal job. They're probably one of the best, if not the best in the world. And but of course, there are also many challenges that they're facing. And so one of the initiatives that we have done as part of our CSR is to put together a donation drive. And this ended at the end of last month. It's just go to our Digital versus COVID page again, and you can read all about it. But we put together a crowdfunding platform with various other fintech companies as well as charity organizations to raise donations for these healthcare frontliners. So while we do the upskilling and all of that, we also want to be able to contribute more directly to our healthcare frontliners. So, and the other thing that we've been trying to do since all of this started is trying to curate thought leadership and engagement opportunities for the vast network that we have at MDEC. So even from UTM, I'm sure you all recognize Dr. Yong. He's an amazing person, an amazing success story for UTM. And we got him onto radio to speak about not just your MCK robot, which is a brilliant invention, but also to inspire other universities and parents about engineering, about computer science and technologies and so on. Similarly, we've brought lesser known stories. In fact, coincidentally, I didn't realize this, but now that I look at it, I realize that coincidentally, Ustaz Huzaruddin is also from Johor, but not from Skudai. He's actually from Felda, SK Felda Lock King, the gentleman you see there with the songkok, and he has come up with a very interesting way of teaching children through online radio, because many of our B40 children may not have access to high-speed connectivity or even devices that are smartphones or high-quality devices. And so one of the ways in which he has been teaching children is through radio, online radio. So those of us who are old enough may remember that, when we were kids, maybe we have also been listening to radio. So this is something that he's reviving. And I think in a way it's good because it helps children develop their listening skills while at the same time engaging them. So we've also put him on the media to inspire other teachers. So many other stories like this. We've come across so many amazing stories of people in our network who are doing amazing stuff, during this MCO period. And we have taken it upon ourselves to try and help, and participate, co-organize many of these sessions. So we've done actually more than 40. So other than the media appearances, we've also done more than 40 webinars that is on a variety of topics, from unemployment, from businesses, just a variety of topics, trying to drive and facilitate engagement. Because I think one of the things during this MCO that many of us miss is, or at least in the beginning, we miss talking to people. And so, of course, now we are all experts, more and more people are becoming experts. So it's very important to make sure these conversations are productive and they're conducive. And so we have a role, responsibility to make sure that the network that we have is coming together in these meaningful ways. We've also had, as I mentioned, many success stories that we have come across the country. And just wanted to share one of it that is from some of my colleagues who drive our business digital adoption work. This is a story from Langkawi. And this lady, her name is Puan. She has a satay business. It's called Terra Grill. And, before COVID, obviously her market was limited by walk-ins, right? And it was all cash-based. And when MCO started, because of all the closing of businesses, of course, her business was also impacted. But we very quickly managed to get her online. And through social media and website, she has increased her sales from 40,000 to 60,000 a month. She's using cashless payments, and this has now helped her to continue her business. Yeah, she's already seen 20% increase. Yeah, in her sales. One day into MCO, she saw 20% increase. So now, of course, she has seen many more percentage increase over the last few months. So these are some of the good things that have come out of it. But I do want to say that this is not the end of the story, right? There's a lot more to do. And I think this is where we really need to work together, because if you really think about it, right, and I'm sure we've all been thinking about how we're going to help and how we're going to support, all the various parts of society. Our success really is dependent on how well we coordinate this entire system, yeah? And the system consists of citizens and communities that are around us. They must have the right kind of digital literacy. They must be able to continue education, yeah, to prepare themselves for this new normal. We must have the right kind of applications and services to support our businesses, right? We must have the right kind of data and enablement platforms. So, for example, cybersecurity and privacy is going to be extremely important. It's already extremely important. Big data, AI. We must have also the right kind of network and infrastructure. So, as I alluded to earlier, maybe B40 or rural communities, they may not have the kind of high-speed connectivity that we are enjoying. And they may also not have access to devices. I think there was a survey that was done by Ministry of Education, which I think they have published, which showed about 30% of children have no access whatsoever to any kind of device. Yeah. So these are things that really need us to think about how we're going to work together. For example, in the university, you have Unimaker Lab, you have devices. How do we open up these devices and labs to school children, that may not have them during your downtime, perhaps during weekends, perhaps during school holidays? How do we open them up going forward? We've also had stories where people have kumpul, lots of laptops from either Unimaker or digital maker hubs, and they have gone to the ground and distributed this to school children who need them. So there's at least one or two stories like that I've heard. So really, we need to put our heads together to figure out how we're going to work across these layers to make sure that we create a really, truly digital economy. And that's something that I think is food for thought for all of us. There are a lot of opportunities right now in every challenge, or in every situation where there's a dark cloud. There are also opportunities and silver linings. So the question is, how are we all going to take advantage of the situation at hand, learn from this experience, and come out of it victorious? So that is my last slide. And of course, do join us, follow us on our social media. We are on all the social media that's out there. And as you know, the hashtag that you'll see in many of our social media, I do hope that we can work together with, collectively to build our country to go forward, continuously. With that, thank you. And of course, I believe over back to Puan Murni now to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this, Sumitra, for your awesome sharing with us. Now we have a Q&A session for question and answer, and also some sharing some ideas from our viewers. Okay. Of course, we are through a pandemic situation right now. We are restricted in our home. We are adapting a new norm in our routine. Okay, can. Then of course, we have a few questions from. All right, from Mrs. Zafira Hashim. Any advice you could give to us on how UTM can contribute to collaborate with MDEC in order to face this pandemic through research activities?
I can't really hear your question.
Okay, all right.
Could you maybe type it in the chat?
Okay. From Ms. Zafira, any advice?
Okay, I read it in the bottom already. Thank you.
Okay. How you can
I think there are lots of research opportunities. In fact, I believe MOSTI and MOSTI has come up with a lot of research grants around COVID. So, and I'm sure UTM has already submitted your applications for many of this. So as you would have seen, there's lots of opportunities that we can do now through these research activities. For example, even things like supply chain. So during COVID, our supply chain has been affected. So how can universities come in to provide ideas? Number one, understand the problem, and number two, then provide ideas on how can we address supply chain challenges, right? For example, early on in MCO, we read about how there were so many vegetables that were gone to waste in Cameron Highlands. And that's obviously because of a supply chain issue. How do you get from the farm to the wholesaler and then to the market or to the customer? And you need to break it down. You need to understand the entire process, right? In fact, now with things like COVID and and humanity becoming more susceptible to viruses, we even need to think about supply chain traceability. For example, where did the products come from? What was used? This is big in halal, right? In halal, we look at traceability, but it's not. I think it's not. How do you say? It's not mainstream yet. Traceability of products is not mainstream yet. So how can research activity support us there? There's many, even for cashless payment. In a country like Malaysia, what's it going to take for cashless payment to become mainstream? So lots and lots of opportunities, and I'm sure you're already thinking about them, with the MOSTI grants that are out for universities.
Yes, we are. I do agree with you that actually fully understand that universities we have a lot of research plan towards how to the post COVID-19. And then this is a question from Dr. Shahidah Sulaiman. Does MDEC check whether the entrepreneurs who join MDEC programs such as e-usahawan are registered with SSM? Does MDEC allow small business operators i.e. not registered with SSM joining such MDEC programs for awareness and exposure?
Yeah, thank you for that. So when we started e-usahawan, the intention was really in the beginning awareness and exposure. So for many social sellers, they may not have SSM, right? But it's important to keep encouraging them to to explore this new medium that they have just found. But having said that, as they grow and as they want to scale their business, they don't really have a choice. They're going to have to register with SSM, because if you're thinking about getting a loan from a bank, or even if you're thinking of raising funds from investors, this is a question that's going to come up. And so we do encourage the micro entrepreneurs to register with SSM. We don't track. That is not our role. There are SSM themselves who have enforcement, and they do check. So we're not an enforcer there, but we do encourage, we do track, we do educate them on the importance of registering with SSM. We've also worked with especially TVET colleges, because SSM at one point, I don't know if they still do it, but at one point they were offering free registration for students to start businesses. So we have worked with many of the TVET colleges that partner with us on e-Usahawan to get their students to register their micro businesses with SSM. So we do encourage, but we're not policing that. Not from MDEC, definitely. And yes, they can join our programs for awareness and exposure. But yes, we do encourage them that eventually they're going to have to register. They have to be law abiding. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Okay, the next question from Professor Naomi Saleh. What are the top digital skills required, and what are currently the biggest gap between supply and chain in terms of digital talents?
Supply and chain. Okay, I'm not sure if I understand what is supply and chain, but let me just share what are some of the top digital skills. So the ones that we are seeing now is digital marketing. During this COVID and this MCO, digital marketing is like one of those hot skills right now. Every business is looking for people who know digital marketing or people who can learn digital marketing for whatever business you do, especially in a country like Malaysia where we have many retailers. It's a trading country. This is a huge area of interest. The other ones are things like even basic things like productivity tools. So many SMEs may not have knowledge on how do you use digital productivity tools. If you read, I think it was maybe about 3 or 4 weeks into MCO Masa tu, we read in the newspapers about how the government was allowing HR professionals to go back, personnel to go back into office to process payroll. This is actually not necessary, because if the business had already been utilizing cloud-based payroll systems, which are easily available out there and not very expensive either, they would not have to go in and risk their health like that. But unfortunately, many businesses still don't have those kind of skills. So that's something which is in huge demand right now. But that's on the more basic level. On the more advanced level, we do see that data is a huge requirement. And one of the initiatives we have with UTM actually is the My Industry AI Scholarship Program, where we offer a tripartite funded scholarship for Masters by Research in AI. And so data and AI are going to be areas which are increasingly important for businesses as they become digital, as they become more cloud-based and more data-driven. These are some of the hot skills that are required. And of course, you have the usual, the software development and all of that. That's all still there. But I would say, given COVID right now, some of the biggest needs are digital marketing, digital productivity tools, as well as data.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. All right. The next question from Muhammad Anwar Hussein. If the workforce is not ready to accept this digital change, and what are other ways to handle business of the company?
That's a really difficult question, because we don't really have a choice. You know, like when there were previous industrial revolutions, when the electricity and the weaving machine and all of that came into being, there were always a certain segment of the population that were resistant. But you really don't have a choice. And I think at some point when you reach critical mass, when 80%, of the businesses realize that they cannot survive without digital, then the workforce that is in them will also have to change. And so I think we have a duty as UTM, as people in the education sector, we have a duty to educate not just students, but not just students or universities, but even our circle of network and influence. Yeah. For example, even teachers, right? So teachers need to think about how they're going to continuously reskill, how they're going to continuously upskill, how are they going to deliver learning content in a more engaging format. Like for years we've been talking about flipped classroom, but tak menjadi-jadi lagi, right? So there are many schools that struggle with flipped classroom. But in this day and age with online education, schools to engage students, don't have a choice. They have to flip classroom, right? Because if they try and deliver their lessons in the usual way, or if lecturers try and deliver their lectures in the usual lecture way, students are going to be disengaged and you're going to find the learning is not going to take place. So it's really tough, but I think we all have a duty to try and inspire and rally and bring along the people that work with us onto this whole digital journey that is now becoming just a new normal. It's just the way it is, right? Our way of life.
Yes, of course, Doctor. All right, without further ado, the next question from Mr. Nur Azmin Abdul Rahman. What is the biggest obstacle when implementing digital effort on traditional farmers?
I think it's quite a few, Number one, if we think about farmers in Malaysia, especially in agricultural sector, for the longest time, it has not been a sector that is appealing to, the younger generation, right? And we know that for digital to be embraced quickly, the younger generation embraces these digital technologies or even any kind of technologies faster than their older they're older members of the family. And so we need to somehow make farming sexy again, right? We need to make it something which is going to appeal to the younger generation, because this younger generation is the one that can support and help the adoption of digital in business, number one. Number two, we also need to start showing the returns, meaning we need to make it real. We can't just talk about it and say, it's good for you, do it. We have to show. And MDEC has done some experiments with this. It's an initiative called e-Ladang. You can look it up online, where we have done some pilots with communities in Kuala Selangor and so on, which has proven that e-farming using IoT and other devices like that, fertigation and so on, actually helps to improve the yield and the quality of produce. And in that way then can help improve income. Because only when we can show real results can we then change mindset, which is, of course, the third biggest thing. So I would say, number one, attract the younger generation to farming, make it sexy again. How do you make it sexy? Maybe when you show the technology, then it becomes sexy. When you show that it's not a back-breaking job, it becomes sexy, and that you can yield. And third, of course, you must show the real results, right? In order to change mindsets. So I would say those are areas that are important.
Yeah, changing our mindset. Okay, the next question from Yok Ling Chi. Thanks, Dr. Sumitra. Very encouraging to know all that is going on. Do we have a national digital economy policy? And in post-COVID-19 world, that policy is even more crucial. A lot of e-commerce rules in trade agreements such as RCEP and ongoing WTO negotiations could undermine the aspiration you shared.
Thank you for those comments and the question. The digital economy policy, I believe EPU is working on some blueprints or some policy papers around digital economy. And I'm sure they are taking into account all that is happening right now to ensure that as far as possible, nobody is left behind. That is an inclusive policy. As far as e-commerce is concerned, I believe for Malaysia, MITI has been in the lead on a lot of these trade negotiations. So I'm probably not the best person to answer this question. It's something that maybe someone from MITI, perhaps a suggestion to UTM is in the next session, invite MITI to talk about, how they're seeing e-commerce in light of what's happening. It's going to be exploding anyway. And so how do we ensure that our local traders and local retailers are protected as we go forward into this very unusual era that we are facing?
All right. Thank you, Doctor. We have two more questions. And all right, from Jamari Ghaffar, line was not very good. Any plan to improve infrastructure with cheaper, affordable, and easily accessed? Very good, interesting.
That's a really interesting question. Thank you for that. In fact, I hope you heard my presentation, but yeah, it even happens with me. I'm using Unify and it drops. What more, if you live in a rural area or in a PPRT, I'm sure it's even more challenging. And this is where our sister agency, so we are all part of Ministry of Communications. We report to Ministry of Communications, which has a pretty broad mandate, extensive mandate. MDECs role is more in terms of the soft side, the industry development, content, and all of that. Whereas the infrastructure in terms of broadband, connectivity, and so on is under the ambit of our sister agency, which is the MCMC, the Malaysia Multimedia Commission. Yeah. So I'm sure they are already thinking about it. If you heard the budget last year, they spoke about the NFCP, the National Fiberization Plan. And as far as I have heard, that's still ongoing. And so the country's 5G agenda and ambition is still strong. It's still on track from what I've heard. But the best people to give you details on infrastructure is actually our sister agency, MCMC.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sumitra. Do you avail for next question?
Yeah, I think we have a few minutes.
Okay, all right. From Dr. Sharifah Kamila, Syed Yusof, does your reskilling, upskilling activities or content changes from COVID-19?
Definitely, we've changed. Yeah, as I showed earlier on my slides, we have pivoted. All our engagements are online. We've not done any engagement physically since we started, other than key meetings that we've had to. Some of my colleagues have had to attend in Putrajaya. Other than that, everything has been online, and it hasn't stopped. So online training of teachers, online training of businesses. As I showed again in my slide, a big focus is on how can we get businesses to go digital? How can we help education and learning to continue? And the third one is how can we actually mobilize our network to match supply and demand for things that are needed during this COVID period.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. We have one more last question. Definitely, this is the last question from Everda Amiron. How do graduates prepare themselves for the employment market post-COVID?
That's a very interesting, good question, especially because I recently heard that we are expecting more than 200,000 graduates to be finishing by the end of the year, coming out of universities by the end of the year. And I would say, one of the things that you probably need to think about is how you're going to equip yourself with practical experience. Yeah, because right now, as you go into the job market, you're probably going to be competing with people who may be losing jobs, which means you're competing with experienced hires. And so it's important not to limit yourself to just textbook knowledge and to just classroom knowledge that you may have learned, in university. It's really important to gain practical experience. So ways of doing that is perhaps you can volunteer your services to a small business near you, or you can offer your internship services for free, or even do some online work, like on platforms like Freelancer and Odesk and Fiverr and people like that, where you can do online work, because it's really important for you to build your portfolio of experience in order to compete with people who may be coming out of the job market and looking to re-enter. So you're going to be in competition. It's going to be tough. but you can prevail if you do a few things. Number one, you need to gain practical experience. Number two, you need to be willing to pivot, which means that if you were trained as an engineer, but you come out and you cannot get a job as an engineer, but you could get a job as a salesperson, I would suggest take the job, right? So you have to be flexible in this current job market. And the third is also you have to be willing to not to accept a part-time job, right? So post MCO, post COVID, there may be companies that may not want to hire full-time employees. They may be moving towards part-time, towards contract, towards gig workers. And so if you are not familiar with gig platforms, that's something that you may want to do. I do know my colleagues have a program called Glow or eRizki, which I believe maybe even UTM have people in UTM who teach how do you actually bid for jobs online. So if you don't know that, just go and find out and learn how to bid for jobs online, because while you wait for a full-time job, it may be good to supplement your income with online work and at the same time build your online portfolio. So when the time is right and when the opportunity is right, you'll be able to re-enter the job market.
Yes, of course, indeed, profoundly. Yeah, this is the last question, sorry, Doctor. From Sean Tan. Greetings, Doctor. Is there any suitable platform or tools that MDEC will recommend to education line to moving from traditional learning towards e-class?
Yeah, I think many of I have a lot of friends who work in universities, and I believe many of them are already using a lot of the platforms like your Google Meet and your Microsoft Teams and so on. So those are the usual ones. And of course, there are also many other platforms out there like Padlet, many app creators, AppWiser, AnyMaker, and so on, which you can use. And many of this, believe it or not, it's either free or it's very low cost. You can get many of it for free. Yeah. So I would suggest to do that. And maybe even if you already know what these platforms are, it would be good to teach people how to use them, because this is a new world that we're living in. We have to unlearn and relearn a lot of things in this new world. And so a lot of people need help. As I showed in my last slide tadi, we need to work together. And so if there are people on this call who are really good on running these engaging online classes, I would suggest to try and run webinars and sessions where you can teach others. They're not just teachers, you also have to teach parents. Like, how do parents help their children, guide their children to follow all their lessons online now? Yeah, how do you even keep track of your children's performance? Dulu ada report card, sekarang tak ada report cards. What do you do, right?
Yes.
So yeah, let's work together.
Yeah, of course, that's a real challenge for every mom's for now. Okay,
I can imagine.
Thank you, Dr. Sumitra. I'm always struggling every single day with my 5 kids. Okay, thank you,
Wow.
Dr. Sumitra, for your good, awesome, and encouraged sharing with us. Despite of your busy schedule, you are giving your precious time with us. We believe it would benefit for our students, alumni, staff, and of course our community as well. I'll pass back to Yang Berusaha Datuk Rafiq for his last few words for today. Over to you, Datuk.
Thank you, Murni, and thank you, Dr. Sumitra. Thank you so very much for spending some of your precious time with us. I'm sure that you're busy with your schedule. It was a wonderful presentation, extremely relevant, extremely interesting. And, when you talk about frontliners, normally we talk about medical professions, medical doctors as frontliners. But then again, if you think very deeply, we also have our own responsibility. Our own responsibility in building up the nation post COVID-19. So here in UTM, you know that UTM is a premier digital technology university. We have several research centers of excellence like MDECs, Big Data Center, and now we are spending most of our research time trying to assist the nation. And of course, we want to work very closely with MDEC. So again, Dr. Sumitra, thank you so very much for spending your time with us through this webinar. And to all of you watching this webinar, thank you also to all our viewers. I would like to ask all of you joining our session right now to, now let me get this one right. No, yes, yeah, okay, yes. Like, comment, and share our Facebook. That, all right, okay. Like, comment, and share our Facebook, because we have many more Captain of Industries webinar. This week we have 2 more, and then next week we have some more. So make sure that you tune in to our Facebook for live Captain of Industry webinars. Thank you to all of you. Back to you, Murni.
Thank you so much, Dato'. Thank you for our viewers today. It's always a pleasure for us for having our large number of viewers for our webinar Captain of Industry today. Please wait to our upcoming webinar with our next Captain of Industry and surely with interesting issue. Please don't forget to like, comment and share our program. Have a good day. Have a nice day. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And bye.